By my second year in escort services, I met A-list celebrity Ethan Gray. He lay there on the floor, silently begging me for help while battling his depression. I pulled him into my arms without hesitation. Just like that, I stayed with him through one hellish episode after another, until day 300, when the man in my arms smiled and told me, "I think I've been saved by a little son." Of course I knew who the little son was. The other male lead in Ethan Gray's new duo protagonist series. I stared at the ceiling, suddenly unable to make a sound. After a long moment, I smiled. That's good. That's good. The sun is light, and I'm destined to stay in the shadows. Ethan Gray fell asleep in my arms then. I got up carefully, listening to his steady, peaceful breathing, and walked to the balcony. Leaning against the half-open railing, I lit a cigarette. I think I've been saved by a little son. I turned those words over and over in my mind. The smile in his eyes flashed through my thoughts. I don't think I'd ever seen Ethan Gray smile like that before. From the moment I met him, he'd spent most of his time in silence or manic episodes. Even when his depression hit, he dealt with it passively. Not eating, not drinking, just lying in bed day after day. Having someone he truly cared about was good, at least it could help him. As for me, I just needed to clean up whatever mess was left behind me. Someone was talking in their sleep. Impatiently feeling around the other side of the bed, I quickly stubbered out my cigarette and returned to bed, instinctively extending my hand for him to grab. "Where did you go?" The sleeping man frowned, clearly displeased by the temporary coldness at his side. "I'm here. Go back to sleep." I slipped back under the covers, turned toward him, and patted his waist gently. After he fell back into peaceful sleep, I lay there staring at the patches of starlight in the darkness. Another sleepless night. As usual, I woke up earlier than Ethan Gray. I made sandwiches and left them on the dining table, then walked out into the dim morning light. This was my routine. I never stayed to wake up with him at his place. I'd do what needed to be done and leave, never lingering for those fleeting moments of tenderness. As for taking care of his daily needs, it was only because this man had brought me out of that place. What I owed him was far more than what I'd spent on him. My phone buzzed. "The woman you've been watching is back at her apartment." "Yeah, it's definitely her." I hailed a taxi and headed to the address pinned on my phone. I'd been tailing this obsessive fan of Ethan Gray's for a week now. Last week, she'd sent threatening letters to Ethan Gray's company. Inside were Ethan's personal belongings and intimate photos. In the pictures, both Ethan Gray and I were clearly visible. We were half naked, kissing in a dressing room backstage at a Broadway theater. From the photos, Ethan looked completely absorbed, easily giving people ideas like he was secretly dating behind his fans' backs. Ethan Gray was at the peak of his career. If this stuff leaked online, he'd be finished. As for the truth, who cares about that? I'd found traces of this stalker online and followed the breadcrumbs to her apartment. When the sun was at its strongest, the stalker finally left her place. Without hesitation, I dragged her to the police station. After the cops cleared all of Ethan Gray's private information from her phone, Ethan arrived with his manager. "Now that we have solid evidence, you can decide whether to press charges against her." I kicked an empty can on the ground nearby, pretending to be casual. I heard the manager say, "Let's just let this go." He basically threw all my legal threats at the stalker right back in my face. The girl's nose turned red as she tearfully complained to Ethan Gray, "I just don't think you could really like him. Oppa. Besides, didn't you say you liked little Lucas the most? Were you lying to us?" I understood immediately. Great. Not only was she a stalker, but she was also a shipper who paired Ethan Gray with his Sunshine co-star Lucas King. Ethan Gray's face turned ashen from my angle. His whole body looked rigid as stone under the girl's expectant gaze. He forced his expression to soften. "Yes, I like little Lucas the most. Don't do things like this anymore." I almost laughed out loud. My mouth was halfway to a smirk when I suddenly felt completely deflated. I turned and slowly walked toward the police station exit, ignoring the happy scene behind me. Looks like I had to be the bad guy, as always. Besides, Ethan Gray hadn't lied. "Are you mad?" "I'm sorry. I didn't know you'd found her first. The company has long-term considerations for this situation. But if we press charges, it might blow up." It was rare for Ethan Gray to text me. I glanced at the messages briefly but didn't reply. I buried myself under blankets in my rental and slept until daylight. In my dreams, Ethan Gray locked himself in a dark, lightless room. The moment I broke down the door, he moved his eyes slightly. Tears flowed silently down his face, with pleas for help and the look of someone dying appearing simultaneously on his shock-featured face. I sat up in bed, throwing off the covers. I had a bad feeling about this. With heavy dew outside, I rushed to Ethan Gray's place without thinking. The moment I pressed the code on his lock, I suddenly wondered if I should call him first. The scene inside answered that question for me. My thoughts were scattered, so I didn't notice the unfamiliar shoes by the entrance in the darkness. But I clearly saw Ethan Gray being held in Lucas King's arms through the half-open bedroom door. I must have made too much noise because someone inside got up. "Who's there?" My feet felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds. My chest tight, like something was stuck in my throat. I could barely maintain basic composure. Dim light from the room spilled onto the floor as Lucas King opened the door. "Who are you?" My gaze remained fixed on Ethan Gray's face. It was the familiar Ethan Gray in a depressive state. His brow furrowed even in sleep. His palms would clench unconsciously, showing excessive resistance to his surroundings. I didn't know how long this episode would last, but I didn't need to know anymore. "I'm his friend." The living room was dark with no lights on. I tried to keep my head down. "Oh, you're Ethan's friend. He seems a bit unwell. Do you want to ... Yeah? Please take care of him. I won't disturb you today. I'll come back another time." It felt like I had a face that couldn't be seen by others. My self-respect had always been stuck in the mud. I hurriedly turned and fled like I was escaping. The only good thing was that I remembered to close the door gently as I left. In the elevator, I stared at myself in the mirror. In that weightless, descending space, I told myself over and over, he was never someone you should have gotten close to. It was never you who could cure his illness. I should be grateful that I'd never left a single trace of myself in that home. So when I left, I could leave cleanly.